I'm leaving Friday.
Yeah, make sure you deal with the sales tax.
All right, waiting for an email. But anyway, we're live here, August 5th. Yeah, let's just dive into it here. It's been a big couple weeks, being that it's earnings season. And yesterday we heard from a few more companies that we talk about a lot on here. Activision's one of them. Beyond Meat's another one. Disney's another one.
Yeah, we completely got it backwards on Disney and Beyond Meat. We should have thought just the opposite for whatever reason.
We didn't get anything backwards.
Yeah. I mean, just to announce what's going on here, Disney had a miss and they immediately went down, but then after a few minutes went back up. And since then, they've been on a tear and they look like they're going to open up about $7 higher this morning. Activision, I mean, to me, they got the pop yesterday along with Take-Two's earnings. So they sold off a little on the news, not much. They're only looking like they're going to be down about $1.50 this morning.
And Beyond is down what they were up yesterday, pretty much. So it's not,
exactly. Beyond looks like
they ran up a ton the last couple of days. So I'm buying more Beyond Meat today. Like I heard that whole earnings call, and all I heard was tampered expectations for a stock that's going to the moon. Like there's nothing stopping them.
So is there anything that they said on that call that you think led to just people taking profits or people selling? Or when you look at the stock today, what are you thinking as far as
yeah, I think, my whole theory, when a stock runs up a bit too much going into earnings, there's just that natural breath. And for them to have gone up after earnings the way they soared the 2 days leading into it would have been very difficult. They matched EPS and beat on revenue. I think, they're a stock that they clearly saw a demand issue within in-store, like as we've seen with the USFD, the way they were acting with supply. But naturally with the at-home demand has soared with e-commerce. As Dan, we were talking offline a bit, how much grocery stores carry this stuff now. Dunkin' Donuts has their Beyond Sandwich breakfasts. The list goes on. I had a Beyond Burger last night. One of the top restaurant chains carries Beyond here. And I think, there's a lot of competition concerns. That's the vibe I get from analysts. But Impossible is their major competitor. There's still a lot out on, in my opinion, their ingredients are a bit iffy when I look through comparing the two. So I didn't see any red flags. And I'm not even being biased from being a holder of the stock. I was really trying to poke holes.
One of the things is the expenses went up considerably for them, and part of that is because of COVID, because they had to repackage.
I mean, that was all COVID. That was all COVID related. That wasn't a long-term type of thing.
Well, they may keep the packaging, and the margins are lower.
Well, let's be real, though. The packaging, that all revolved around the demand issue with COVID, with things being shut down. That's why the expenses went way up with the packaging.
I mean, that's the one thing that I saw with their earnings, and I didn't listen to the call, but just that their profits and their expenses went way up and their profits went way down. And I know
and for good reason. When you think about it, no one predicted COVID was coming. When you think about how much stuff they had in inventory, that there was clearly they had to pivot a bit, and I think they had to suspend guidance like every company, and either way, I think it's clear based on how they've been acting too, and even the sell-off going into this morning. People love their stock. Even the bears, you could tell, are like, these guys aren't a fad. Because a few months ago, this was a fad, this whole thing.
Well, I still think you're going to see competition from the meat companies. They have a lot of shelf space. They can make inroads within the supermarkets and basically demand space for products like that.
They're already there, and I think we go the whole first market mover thing, as we know how valuable that is. When you have a brand that's front and center in a store, case in point, I was at the grocery store last night. They must have had 7 different versions of Beyond Meat. But what stands out? Beyond. And the fact that they're a public company now, I think that brand is just extremely powerful. It's like Tesla having competition with electric vehicles. We've seen how hard it is for these other companies to catch up.
Be hesitant to put Beyond in the same sentence as Tesla when it comes to loyalty and how people view the company. But let's switch gears here.
I'm telling you, I think it's a great analogy.
I know. Let's talk about Disney.
At the industry. The way they've been a first mover in an industry where it's a different way you don't need animals to get meat. Like, that's a game-changing way of looking, the way Elon Musk did with cars.
I mean, the main difference.
Very similar.
Yeah, the main difference to me, and then we'll move on to another stock, is more that it's easy for any company that's in that department to go into that industry. And there's no doubt Beyond Meat, in my opinion, doesn't have what Tesla does when it comes to, you talk to a 16-year-old, they want a Tesla. They're not like, I want an electric car, they want Tesla. And I think when it comes to food and which companies people are looking to eat food from, they care more about the environment and the plant-based stuff than the actual brand. But that's just my opinion on it. So,
well, yeah, the brand, though, I think people want a Tesla. That started with wanting to help the environment. And it's the same thing with Beyond, with being at the beginning.
Well, that's what will be interesting to see is, will they have the same clout as Elon Musk?
Without a doubt, I can guarantee it.
Dad, you've always been a big holder at Disney, and I feel like you have a really good pulse on their company, their stock, just the whole thing. Is it really that people are just kind of looking ahead, knowing that at some point the parks are going to be back, the disease is going to be gone, or the virus, I should say? And I mean, what are your thoughts on Disney? Because to me, they report yesterday that they lost billions of dollars. The park revenue is down over 80%, which obviously the park's been closed. Disney Plus is obviously crushing it, but I mean, talk to me. What do you think?
I think Disney is figuring out how to make the transition into the streaming, and people are really excited about that. This new movie that they have, Mulan, they're going to do a $29.99 or some price like that. And the only way you can get it is if you sign up for Disney Plus, and they'll see how they do with that. If that's a home run for them, not only do they make money on that movie, but they're making money signing people up to their movie.
Think it'll be a great way to get people expedited too through lines. When you think about what they could do with Disney Plus when theme parks come back with their actual in-person experiences, I'm seeing that being a complete synergy. They're going to start rolling up, kind of like Amazon Prime. And Disney's going to start doing that with people. You have young kids and families glued into movies and shows. Next thing you know, you have a ride at Disney World and all these toys around that theme. I mean, they have a lot of things in the works. I don't even own Disney, but I was sleeping on that notion. And this is probably a golden opportunity for me to get in just for the long haul for that reason.
Yeah, it's an interesting point there. There's a lot of synergy with all the different things that they got going on. Yeah,
with augmented reality too. Disney's heading. I mean, with where the world's heading, that narrative works for Disney like crazy. When you think about it.
Yeah, I bought a little Disney at the beginning of this whole pandemic, but a really small amount, thinking that the lows were going to stay in place for months and that you'd kind of have time to jump on stock. And that's what I did with Shopify too, when I took on these really, really minor positions just to start following the stock and never added to them. So I owned such a small amount that, I was honestly hoping that they'd have a pullback so I could load up. Because I'm with you. I mean, when you think about the future, this is one of the companies that's going to dominate it. It's tough to imagine a future without Disney, and it's tough to imagine.
Not only that, Disney is leading the way in how to open these parks and how to deal with crowds of people. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start advising other companies on how to do it.
I was just going to say that that's a business in itself when you think about it. Crowd regulation.
I mean, Florida is in the midst, it's gotten better in the last few days, but they opened and they're doing better than the state, as an entity by itself.
That says a lot. Yeah.
Not surprising at all. Let's talk about BP for a second, because I know we touched on them yesterday, and I know they had good earnings. They were up nice, and it looks like they're going to continue that today. I mean, Dad, give us kind of the bullish and bearish case for energy in general and BP, because I know, they're European. That's a stock that you've been big on for a while. It's one of my long-term positions for years now. And I'm just wondering, like, could we ever expect BP to be back in the 40 range? Is it going to be like a slow grind? What are your thoughts on the way the stock's acting?
Yeah, I think you can see it back up around those levels at some point. Energy is not going away. BP has made the determination that they want to be the environmental energy company, and that's the direction they're going. If that works, it's going to be a home run for them, but that's a tough go. They cut the dividend in half, which is what the market wanted. They felt they were spending way too much money off of their revenues and their cash flow to keep the dividend. So that's why you see the stock up in the last 2 days. And, I don't love the chart, but if it could break through, and it really has to break through 28, 29 area for me to get more excited about the chart. Until I see that, I'm not going to add to it. But I don't think there's much downside on a British Petroleum.
I mean, that thing's been beaten down for so long.
Yeah.
Where's the downside?
If you look at the other energy companies, they're not much different. The inventories went way down here, and oil's up today. Oil is mainly moving off of the dollar, which kind of segues me into my commodity thinking today. I was looking at a lot of currencies and the dollar again, and the dollar is almost at a new low. And that is fueling gold, it's fueling silver, it's fueling Bitcoin.
Did you get on Bitcoin yet?
No, I mean, I was going to say, if you compare all the charts, the best commodity has been silver since March. Silver has gone up from like $11 an ounce to $27. At the same time, gold has gone up from $1,450 to $2,060, and Bitcoin 4,210 to 11,580. Now, Bitcoin got hit harder, so it looks more dramatic, but it's very interesting that quietly silver has been the best commodity to play this whole time against.
Just like it's very interesting, Ethereum has actually been the best, that you can kind of equate that like gold with Bitcoin, Ethereum with silver.
Yeah, and the headlines always are the same. The headlines are, where is oil trading? Where is gold trading? Where's the dollar?
I just think that's interesting when we think about the digital gold. It's almost like silver is where Ethereum is with returns in the altcoin universe. Bitcoin is like gold. So that makes me even more bullish on these altcoins because they're starting to go hand in hand.
Yeah, and the market the last couple of weeks, I think, has really been fueled by the dollar weakness.
So let me ask you.
What?
It seems. Let me ask you a question, because it seems like at this point the narrative is really 100% that the dollar is going to continue to weaken and gold is going to continue to get stronger. Can't really find anybody that's not saying that. And normally, when you look at the stock market, it's easy to say when things are really good and everybody's saying things are going to go up, there's something that's going to smack you in the face. It's hard to see what that is. And obviously, this is a tough question because I'm now asking you what that is for gold and the dollar. But if you could think of one thing that immediately would cause this to all change, where all of a sudden people are a little bit more bullish on the dollar and people start to look at gold as something that could easily fade quickly, I mean, what would need to be that headline?
Yeah, I don't know what changes it quickly. I mean, once trends get established, they seem to go on. There will be a point where foreign investors in the U.S. will start pulling away if the dollar continues to weaken, because they're losing money every day the dollar goes down. I mean, part of the reason that there's so much foreign investment over the last couple of decades is the stable dollar and, the good economy here. Now, this obviously helps our economy in general when it's a weak dollar, as long as there's no obvious inflation. But I don't know what would turn it. There's always something that could do it, though.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been trying to figure out is what can cause this narrative to pull a 180, because it seems like I've never seen something be so one-sided where you don't have anybody that's like, yeah, gold is going to go way back down, the dollar is going to go way up.
Well, what would cause the dollar to go up is if we have a major, crash in the market, because then everybody will just go back to the dollar as the safety valve.
Which, you never know. Maybe that's
what feed on itself. And that could feed on itself. What would cause that actual drop? Who knows?
Bob, you want to talk a little bit about what the chaos with NVAX in the close yesterday?
Oh, that was insane. It just shows you one error in an announcement. The stock is NVAX, if you want to punch it in the chart.
$30 pre-market.
Yeah, I was watching it last night, and suddenly the stock dropped from about 157 to 103 and back up to 170 in about 5 minutes. And the reason was there was an announcement made that they were having problems with the vaccine trials in Australia, and a few people were hospitalized. And then they denied it 2 minutes later. So somebody got screwed out of position, and that someone else, obviously was able to buy it down there. And now the stock's up 186. But there should be an investigation when that happens. That's not right.
Yeah, there really should. I'm sure there are.
Yeah, and by the way, there's an investigation on Kodak. The SEC finally said, okay, enough of this, because there were so many options that were granted to executives the day before Kodak's loan. So that's going to be interesting to follow. That should not affect the stock itself. And it's on page now.
People's going to sleep at night.
Yeah, but it's that stock has come all the way back down from 60 to 1460. So it's trying to find what it's really worth now after all that hoopla.
Speaking of that, can we talk about Nikola? Dan, I know we talked about them offline a bit. I mean, what is your opinion? This is a prime example of a stock that gained momentum off of Elon Musk and Tesla when you think about it. And like Kramer even said yesterday, they're a victim of their own success with the niche they're in. Their expectations are so sky high that they had their earnings report and there was nothing to even go over. Like they haven't done anything yet. So what's your opinion on them as a company and a stock, and just the consensus with that type of scenario where people are buying into just momentum off somebody else's news?
It kind of reminds me of when Facebook first really started to dominate and everybody started trying to chase what they thought could be the next Facebook, when in reality there's not a next Facebook. So when you look at what's going on with Tesla, the one thing I'll say about Tesla, and I'll start with myself, is I'm obsessed with that car. I don't own one, but it's the first car I've ever wanted to own. And I've heard several people say the same thing, where they almost have like a cult-like following. And I think there's a lot of people who are speculating that Nikola maybe can give them the same gains that Tesla did, where maybe they look at that and they're like, oh, we missed the run on Tesla. If we bought Tesla at the beginning, we'd be millionaires. And now they look at Nikola and they look at the stock that's, a $34 stock today, and they're thinking, if this is the next Tesla, I'm going to be rich. And yeah, I don't see it. I think it's going to be, there's not a next Tesla.
But then you got other people, their bulls are screaming, oh, this is the Tesla's first legit competitor. So what's the real deal with these guys? Are they actually the real deal, or is this all just fluff?
Well, I think you have to think, if Tesla didn't exist, would this stock be trading at 10?
This stock wouldn't exist if Tesla didn't exist.
Well, I don't know. But if it did exist and Tesla didn't.
Like, would Burger King exist if McDonald's never came around?
Probably.
But would they be Burger King? Like, that's, there always has to be an Avis to the Hertz, but I don't know. That's what I'm getting at. Is this the number two in this space?
I think you could look at Tesla, like you could look at the gorilla companies and not even just every space, but a very few amount of spaces where you have cult-like followings. Tesla to cars is Apple to consumer ends. Where I truly believe that once somebody starts driving a Tesla, they are not going to switch. They're not going to start driving something else. Anyone I've ever met that drives a Tesla is beyond obsessed with it.
Well, Dan, that's what I'm highlighting, though. Is that something that Nikola has the potential to build themselves?
I don't think so, because I think that's Apple. And I don't think you're going to see a day where people who are obsessed with Apple.
But let's even think about Apple. Who would you guys consider their biggest competition in the world?
I think there were a lot of people that fell along the way. Like BlackBerry was exciting for a minute, and they got swallowed alive.
But I think we have to break down for a second. There's certain sectors within Apple where there's competitors, right? Based on what they're
Mike, would you ever switch from Apple?
As with laptops?
With phones, laptops. I mean, we all.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've always considered doing it just off the battery life being shit. I haven't done it since I've gotten Apple, which is definitely something to think about. It's a very powerful usability situation. You get comfortable. It's like anything. Humans resist change. So once you have them in a habit, it's tough to switch. But that's where I'm going with Nikola here. Do they have something in electric vehicles to make someone like Dan be like, I don't own a Tesla. I've been thinking about getting one, but wait a minute. Is that like that? What I'm getting at here, guys, is Elon Musk that much of a powerful brand? I personally think he is, to where it's impossible to even compete with Tesla, because he's like that. He's Iron Man. He's like a human Iron Man. How do you compete with that on top of what Tesla's turned into as a company?
But having said all that, I think you got to remember the power of this Robinhood thing. And I don't think Nikola's done with that speculation.
But is that what I'm highlighting? You guys have been shorting stocks. I haven't gotten into that game yet. Do you think this is a prime opportunity to be shorting the hell out of Nikola?
I wouldn't touch it, because I think these guys could still run it up. Now
I just know so many people that have been like, oh man, we got to get on that Nikola train. It makes me want to short it.
But think about it this way. There's nothing that can come out now for 3 months to screw it up, really, because the earnings aren't going to be announced again for 3 more months. Look, so there could be a speculative train going on.
But what are they? There's, like Kramer said, nothing's coming out with them for so long. They're just off nothing.
Look, you guys are both right. I think what Dad's basically saying is you never want to fight the momentum, and you've seen if you try and do that, you'll get crushed. And what Kramer's also saying is right. Like if there's a day in the next month where the market decides to crap itself and we wake up and the NASDAQ's in a downward spiral and the Dow's down 2,000 points, which we've talked about, that could easily happen. Yeah, it's not crazy to think that a stock like Nikola is going to get absolutely flushed out.
I mean, they've chopped in half in 2 months.
I would argue that Nikola can close up today if the Robinhood gang gets behind it. It wouldn't surprise me.
And we got Portnoy having the Winklevoss twins in for Bitcoin training, which I thought was hysterical.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
They have to wear the rowing suits.
Yeah, and the other thing is, the way I look at it, when you're talking about Nikola Tesla, I kind of look at it like the main competitor at Tesla is going to be other established car companies that successfully roll out their own electric vehicles. And don't get me wrong, I still think Tesla is going to be the gorilla in the space. I think they have a weird cult-like following. I understand why. Part of it's Elon, part of it's the Teslas are amazing. But I'm more inclined to think that, you'll see Ford come out with cars that are really, really cool that people want to get behind. Like you see what they're doing with their new Bronco. This Nikola company, I'd much rather bet on a company that's proven themselves time and time again to make the shift into the electric space and gain some momentum with it. But yeah,
we've seen Ford has been trying to do that for how long?
Ford has got a new CEO, and maybe the trade to do here. I mean, Tesla's a great company. We talked about this before. The stock is double where it should be, max, as far as I'm concerned, no matter how good they do.
Dad, you've said this for years with Tesla.
I'm much more positive on the downside now than ever before. I would buy Ford and short Tesla. That would be a
See,
great.
I feel like that's been the narrative
to me in
for
2
so
years.
long.
Right?
Well, hold on, Mike. Let me just say the one thing I will say about the Ford is their new Bronco is getting young generation hype up. Like, people are obsessing over the Ford new Bronco in a way like people obsess over Tesla. So that might be the beginning to Ford becoming like a cool brand again.
Is
Like,
there, Dan, you're seeing young kids into Ford as a brand?
Portnoy wants the new Bronco.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
I mean, that's definitely game changing for sure. Because that's been my biggest problem with Ford is the sentiment.
Exactly. The Ford new Bronco is cool. And when I think about Ford, I think about a company that has a car or a brand of cars that's just not cool. When I think about Ford, I think about our old neighbor growing up and the Ford trucks.
Yeah, exactly. That's been my problem.
Don't even work. Yeah, exactly. So that's why it passed to be like, Ford's a dead. But where I kind of agree with Dad is now they have this cool Bronco that people are going crazy about. So is this the beginning of things to come? And if so, yeah, when you look at the Ford chart and you look at the Tesla chart, I'm kind of with Dad here. I think if you were to buy Ford and short Tesla and actually, I don't know about shorting Tesla.
I would not short Tesla.
Yeah, I think they're like stock.
If you're bold and want to have a neutral portfolio, you short Tesla, you buy Ford, you short Amazon, you buy Walmart.
Dad, I like where your head's at with the Ford and Walmart. And speaking of Walmart,
in 2 years,
let's bring up Walmart for a second here because they had I think this is a great buying opportunity for them. There's a dip off of a delay in their Amazon Prime type of service, Walmart Plus or whatever they're calling it. I mean, let's be real. They're rolling that out. So any dip on something like that to me is just a great time to buy. When you look at the election, even if Biden does win, Walmart is a good purchase going into the election with the whole tax breakdown and the way they're set up. Just like Lululemon, who's not based in the U.S. with taxes, there are certain things to be said for those types of companies. I'm looking at Walmart today as the stock of the day because I've been waiting on them to pull back a bit. I saw they did on that news yesterday.
Yeah, it's hardly pulled back at all. It's
because it's a dominant company. They've revamped what they're doing. And when Dan talks about cool with Ford, I think of Walmart in the same way. A couple of years ago, I thought they were dead in the water, and their execs have done a phenomenal job of restructuring these guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, Walmart's a beast. It's definitely. I haven't really. I don't think I've ever
to do so much. When you think about how quickly they know how to innovate, they have all that closing down a few months ago. They're doing drive-in movies for parking lots. They just know how to optimize their game in every way. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to follow the performance of Walmart versus Amazon over the next year. I definitely more so like Dad's theory with Tesla and Ford, Amazon, and Walmart. I would not want to get in the way of Amazon. They're a freight train.
Why would you want to get in the way of Elon Musk? People keep trying.
I would not feel comfortable shorting Tesla.
Yeah, you said it best. It's a cult-like following. You really have never wanted to buy a car, but you want a Tesla, and you want to short.
I mean, it all comes down to you could have a great company and it's way, way overpriced.
But we're in the headline era with FOMO, and that's a thing. There's no doubt.
If you're worried about a crash or a big sell-off, Tesla could drop 400 or 500 points in a week,
and then jump back.
It may jump back, but if you're short Tesla and long a Ford, you're not going to lose.
But Dad, have you made money shorting Tesla?
Yeah, but I've only been short it for like an hour or two.
Exactly. It's something you never like staying
and it was a long time ago. But I think now it's really a much different short than it was a year ago. I mean, there's crazy price and then there's dumb price.
Yeah, when you look at where it's at compared to the 1 year chart, like, to me, that's more intriguing of a short than Amazon. I don't think Amazon's run up that out of control. I mean, I know you talk about them coming down to the mid 2000s range. Maybe, maybe not. You know, I just don't know. They continue to impress. Dad, you got a stock of the day?
It's always so difficult to say this early before the market opens. But if I had to pick something today, I like the way these airlines are acting for a trade. Like I've been following Sabre. It broke through 8 pre-market. Maybe it can get back to 8.5. Their earnings are coming out in tomorrow. No, 2 days from now.
And I think we have Zillow earnings today, right?
Zillow's coming out. Someone upgraded them today.
I'm going to be buying more at the opening. I think Zillow is going to be going up after earnings. They've kind of toyed with their all-time highs. They're a little below them. I think
actually Deutsche Bank kept a hold on them, but raised the price target to 75. So they're hedging themselves.
We're going to wake up and that stock's going to be over 100 before we know it.
And I'm going to probably take some pen off the table today. They have earnings tomorrow. They run up really hot. It wouldn't surprise me if they break out after earnings and go way higher, but I have more than I need to own. So I'm going to trim that, but I am going to hold the position going into earnings. Pen earnings are tomorrow.
We didn't talk about APT at all, which got clocked yesterday. It's getting more interesting down here.
Yeah, so APT, I thought had their earnings today, but had their earnings yesterday before the market, and we're down about 20% on earnings gradually throughout the day. It started out only down 5. I still don't really understand it. They absolutely crushed their earnings. Their forward guidance is incredible. They're basically projecting their forward guidance as if this pandemic, whether it stays or leaves, their business isn't going anywhere. They booked $100 million in N95 masks, which equates to 1/3 of their entire market cap. There must have been a huge seller that's taking profits from the $4 run up, which I get, but I was able to unload a bunch 2 nights ago when they had that massive rally. I'm keeping my position. I think they're set up for this new world that we're in. So if they dropped into the teens, I'd be starting to shit myself, which probably is going to happen. But, I'm kind of in it to win it at this point.
Which stock, Dan?
APT.
Oh, nice. Well, let's make some money, everyone.
Cool.
Enjoy the day.